Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Borg Skeptic show. Glad to see that everyone is here. Sorry about the stream error on the last stream. Uh, there was Streamlabs just went down, crashed completely. So we're on this on a new stream now. Hopefully everyone got here okay. Uh, Before we start, I'll shout out those in the chat. We have Skids the Clown with us. Welcome. We have the Fad with us, who's co-hosting.
Doesn't seem like I'm sitting up high enough, everybody. Looks like we're live. And it looks like I can't hear anybody. Scott, can I hear you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Katie, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Sounds like we don't have Katie. Sounds like we have you and me, but not Katie.
We'll sort that out in a second.
And you are a little bit out of frame. And so am I.
Oh.
This chair just does not go up. There we go. All right. I don't know. There's a little bit of lag. I wonder if you guys can see us. Katie, can you hear what we're saying? We cannot hear you. Do we need to start a new
no, we don't
Discord
need to start
room?
a new one. 2 secs, everyone.
Was there a new one we needed to enter?
Mute yous while I sort this out. Right, yes. So as I was saying, welcome the Fad to the stream, and we've also got Josh, Josh the Catalyst in here. Thank you for joining us, Josh. I need to sort out my sound, so I'll just continue on the interview as the introduction as we're doing that.
As we wait for Katie, I know that we're going to be reading Monday,
February
8th. Oh, you can hear Katie. But
Yeah.
we can't. Katie. Katie. What have you done to us? Content creator.
Yeah, so everyone can hear me. I'm having an issue with Discord, so
You entertained our audience, but I'm also trying to work in the background and figure out what is going on.
I can't think. 2 secs. Right.
Katie.
Right. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're very, very loud.
Yeah. I'm doing the introduction. I'm trying to sort out why I can't hear you in Discord,
Okay.
or why you can't hear me in Discord. Sorry.
Things seem to be looking up, and we haven't even started to try to juggle or sing yet.
Can you two please come over to StreamYard? Can you two come over to StreamYard? Because
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, right. Sorry everyone about that. Technical issues there. It's been a night for that. Yeah. So as I was saying, welcome everyone in the chat. Thank you for joining us. We are going to be doing a coverage of the part 3 of the annual meeting for Jehovah's Witnesses. We're not going to be covering too much into that, but we are going to finish that off, and then we're going to be doing some of the examining the scriptures daily reading again. So I'm just going to bring in the guests for tonight. So we have with us the Fad. Welcome, Justin. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you, Katie. It's always great to see you.
And we also have Scott Williamson with us tonight as well. How are you doing tonight, Scott?
I am doing wonderful.
Yeah. I don't know what was happening with Discord there. For some reason, it had just completely cut me out, so you two couldn't hear me.
Devil's in the
Yeah,
details.
well, I'm just going to put the blame on you. I think that's the easiest route. So,
yeah,
Katie,
it's always my
it was
fault.
completely your fault, but thank you for fixing it.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening. All I know is I was trying to give an introduction. You were trying to give an introduction at exactly the same time, and
I felt bad that everything was going wrong, so I thought, well, if nobody can hear, we might as well try to entertain them. I had no idea they could hear both of us. So that must have been quite the show.
Yes, quite a confusing beginning, to be fair, I'd say. That's the thing. Anyway, uh, so we're going to be covering as oh, well, before I get into that, I'll mention as well, for anyone who's joining us, please like, share, and subscribe. It means the world to me if you can do that. I also have a Patreon, so if you can check that out, links will be on my about page of my channel. I also have a Discord, and I have a Buy Me a Coffee account, so you can help me out by clicking on any of those links. There's also a website, www.borgskeptic.co.uk. You can watch the stream live from there. You can also there's links to the Discord there, and there's also a merch store on there if you're interested in having a look at that. That would be absolutely great if you want to help me out that way. So tonight we're going to be covering as I mentioned, the final part of the annual meeting of Jehovah's Witnesses. Me and Scott were talking about that with Almost Atheist on Friday. That was the part 2. So if you've already watched that, great. If not, then I'll leave a link to that live stream in the description of this video. So where did we get up to? I can't quite remember, Scott. We got to the end of the interviews, didn't we? And
Right. Yep.
And the rest of the video was pretty boring for that one, so I think best moving on to part 3 would be the best thing. Because they just had a boring talk about the anointed of Jehovah's Witnesses after that, so I don't think anyone wants to hear that. So yes, I will line that up. So we'll jump straight into. I'll screen share that, and we'll jump into it. This is the release, the announcement of Jehovah's Witnesses, and the release of a new video series that they're going to be doing. And so we'll watch that video and see what that's like. I need to be over here, and
on through the great tribulation yet to come. Now we are happy to share with you a video about an upcoming video series. Brother Stephen Ladd is the host of this presentation. You will be delighted with what he has to say.
Jesus said, as recorded at Matthew 11:27, "No one fully knows the Father except the Son, and anyone to whom the Son is willing to reveal him." This teaches us 2 things. First, that it is possible for us to know the Father fully. And second, that Jesus is the key to knowing Jehovah. Jesus clearly identified his role in revealing the Father. On his last night here on earth, he told his apostles, as recorded at John 14:6, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Only through Jesus can we truly know the Father and have an approved relationship with him. Earlier, at the Transfiguration, Jehovah confirmed Jesus' pivotal role when he instructed Peter, James, and John to listen to Jesus. For over a century, the faithful and discreet slave has provided a wide range of study aids to help us learn about the life, ministry, and teachings of Jesus Christ. These gifts enrich our study of God's Word. They shed light on the world he lived in, the places he walked, the towns where he preached, the landscapes he saw, the food he ate, and even the seasons in which various events took place. These printed publications are more than just words on a page. They illuminate Jesus' personality and reveal his qualities, which mirror those of his heavenly Father. We learn about Jesus' compassion, self-sacrifice, humility, power, boldness, courage, and love. More importantly, focusing on Jesus' teachings and example draw us closer to the one who sent him. Our meetings, assemblies, and conventions also deepen our love and appreciation for God's Son. In more recent years, Jehovah's organization has used video to reach the hearts of all those attending our conventions. But how can we continue to help honest-hearted ones to understand Jesus' role as King and High Priest, and to help them acquire the mind of Christ? Well, bringing events of Jesus' ministry to life on screen or the printed page is not without its challenges.
As you know, the governing body had those full costume dramas for years at conventions, but never was Jesus depicted. And you can understand the challenge, who's going to play Jesus?
Can you imagine trying to select brothers in, say, 200, 300, even more different places to play the role of Jesus Christ?
But then finally, for a certainty, he made him Lord and Christ, part 1, part 2. We went ahead, governing body approved it, go ahead, let's have that. And it worked very well.
When you see Jesus with the woman that had a flow of blood, and the tenderness in our video of Jesus dealing with that woman and her fear, and yet her confidence that she could be healed by him, and the way Jesus treated her, that conveyed something that we would not always bring up in our imagination.
So once we saw the reaction from the brothers and sisters, how their hearts were touched by this presentation, we could see this is a very effective way to portray Jesus' teachings.
What could boost your spirituality more than actually seeing the scriptures come alive?
But now, here is a very exciting announcement. The governing body is pleased to announce that a very special video series about Jesus is currently being developed. Work is underway to develop and produce a new live-action dramatic series on Jesus Christ. The title of the series is The Good News According to Jesus. This series will combine the strengths of all our preceding research and study tools with the power of the moving image, and will enable the viewer to gain an even deeper understanding of Jesus' life and ministry, which in turn increases our knowledge of Jehovah. Although other religious and commercial institutions have produced various films on the life of Jesus, these have often been tainted by unscriptural views of Jesus, or they have placed excessive emphasis on violence. And existing video productions focus on one Bible book at a time, or only on specific episodes of Jesus' ministry on earth. The Good News According to Jesus, however, will show all the events of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the order in which they happened, and in as much of the rich detail as current research and Bible understanding will allow. Often a presentation like the one you're about to see is shown after a feature-length drama is released. Such behind-the-scenes videos help us to understand and appreciate various facets of the video-making process. Today, however, we are giving you a preview, a first look at an upcoming convention project that will take years to complete. In view of the large scope of this project, we encourage you to make it a matter of earnest prayer to Jehovah, and please support it according to your circumstances. Would you like to see what episode 1 might look like? To provide an advanced impression of the look and feel of an episode, audio-video services prepare storyboards. We're pleased to share with you now an excerpt from an animated storyboard.
Assuming that he was in a group traveling together, they went a day's journey and then began to search for him among the relatives and acquaintances. But not finding him, they returned to Jerusalem and made a diligent search for him. Well, after 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the teachers and listening to them and asking them questions. But all those listening to him were in constant amazement at his understanding and his answers. Now, when his parents saw him, they were astounded.
Child, why did you treat us this way? Here, your father and I have been frantically looking for you.
Why were you looking for me? Did you not know that I must be in the house of my father?
However, they did not understand what he was saying to them. Then he went down with them and returned to Nazareth, and he continued subject to them. Also, his mother carefully kept all these sayings in her heart. And Jesus went on progressing in wisdom and in physical growth and in favor with God and men.
The true light that gives light to every sort of man was about to come into the world.
Of course, this is not the final video. Rather, it's an example of how the words on a page can come to life. Preparing simple, basic drawings to convey the idea of a video is one of the early visual tools used during the approval process. The animatic review is a very early milestone for the visual storytelling. But how has the project been developed? What direction has the governing body given for bringing events in Jesus' life to the screen?
So first of all, the governing body approved the concept of producing a production like this. But there were some questions. How do you do it? So 3 options were given to the governing body. The first option was for us just to have a theatrical stage production, similar to what we'd already done. The second set of options involved having a narrator speak and just read the sections of Scripture, and in the background to have acting, but not actually to have Jesus speaking or those involved with Jesus speaking. And then finally, the third option, which is of course the hardest and involves a lot of work, is to do a real life drama. So we were interested to see how the governing body would feel about this. And what a joyous time it was to see the brothers say, we want the best for the brotherhood. We want them to be able to see the power and impact of what Jesus taught. Yes, we want the third option. So then we realized there's a lot of work ahead.
It's easy to think the inspired text is there, what's to write? But it's not as simple as just taking little half-hour chunks out of the 4 gospel accounts and throwing them on script and filming them. Which gospel account do you use? Do you use Matthew's account, Mark's, Luke's? So very quickly we saw the need to lay each of the 4 gospel accounts side by side and decide which account in every case, every event, gives us the fullest picture, the most details. So even if you can't say everything that appears in all 4 accounts, you use the one to carry the bulk of the story. The others provide the rest of the details that we'll actually see.
The brothers who help write the dramas, they have a tremendous amount of work to do. But then there also are those who do the research just to make sure little details are correct, whether it be the shoes a person has on or whether he even wears shoes.
When you show something on film, you are committing yourself. You are saying this is the explanation, or in some cases, the application. It goes beyond illustration. It's the explanation. It's the way to understand what happened. And that is what sticks with people's memories. So it's a huge responsibility to get that right.
So our research department already has a lot of information, but doing something like this is yet another step down the path of being very, very difficult, because there are a lot more questions come up.
How are we going to depict the devil?
How do you show Jesus walking on water?
What footwear was allowed in the soreg? And what's a soreg?
Research is pivotal in this. So you make a decision about what to depict. But then there are details when it comes to not just telling it, not just reading what happened, but now that you have to show what happened, how do you do that?
If you take something that's static, like a piece of artwork that's well-researched, solid sources, and now you bring it to life, in many respects, more research needs to go into this so that everything is looked at from various angles.
So let me explain the challenge we have with John chapter 6. If we look at map 3B in the appendix section, just imagine we have the Sea of Galilee here. Now, according to what it shows us, we have Magadan here on this side of the Sea of Galilee, and up here we have Capernaum. Now, according to what this tells us, Jesus performed his miracle across on this side of the Sea of Galilee, and then the apostles traveled by boat to this general area. Of course, Jesus joined up with them when he walked on the water. So according to John chapter 6, Jesus starts to teach the crowd as he was walking along the seashore. But by the end of John chapter 6, we see that Jesus is actually speaking at that time here in Capernaum. So the question comes up, what part of the dialogue was actually stated here in the synagogue in Capernaum, and what part was stated along the seashore as he was walking along? So we'll have to do some research into John chapter 6 and see where is a good break for us to realize what words were actually said there in the synagogue. That's the challenge.
We need for the friends to be able to watch this video series and feel they're actually there, and what they are seeing is as close to the way it must have been as we can possibly make it. And the role of research helps us to ensure that.
With scripts being developed and approved, the production team continues work with a visual look and feel of the series.
So when we found out that the project involved the entirety of Jesus' ministry, it was simply overwhelming.
Once we've read our script, we go into a phase where we start working with storyboards. Storyboards are kind of like first pass at what this story might look like. That's compiled into what's called an animatic, which is a type of video. So you've got a narration, you've got dialogue, and you've got music, but it's to these cartoon boards. It's great because it gets you prepared so that on set, the challenges don't just pop up, you can anticipate them. Concept art is a communication tool to help us to get all on the same page. Concept art helps us to get the mood of it, the lighting, to experience it maybe from a perspective that we hadn't thought of it before.
The story of Jesus' ministry isn't just dry, cold facts. It's actually human stories. When we see how different people respond and react to Jesus' ministry, how they're shaped and molded by what they experience, that's essentially that character's arc.
We'd go in and say, okay, where does our character start? How does he grow? And where is he by the end of this series? By seeing his struggles, seeing his challenges, it makes that character more relatable.
As years of development passed, the immense scope of this project came into clear focus. A natural question arose: where would we record it?
When we were doing the production of Jonah, we used parts of Southern California, and we thought that would be a very good location. So that was proposed to the governing body, and they said, thank you very much, but we would rather that you use existing Bethel facilities that would be available and that maybe is not being utilized to its full potential.
So we worked with Worldwide Design Construction, and they provided a list of some of the branches that had space. And as we were doing so, it came to our attention that in Australasia, the printery was about to be phased out.
At the end of 2015, the printing work was moved to Japan. The press was then put up for sale. It sold about 3 years later. So now we had this big warehouse space, just what we needed for a studio.
We just were stunned to think that such a project could be accomplished here. But I think we've also seen so many evidences of Jehovah's blessing on this project that it's very clear it's something he wants.
The temporary accommodation here at the branch was due for demolition. And I mean, like, the bulldozers were almost at the gate. So we were able to stop those bulldozers, and as a result, we're currently renovating those residents. Jehovah's Hand was definitely in that experience. Without the stopping of that demolition, we wouldn't have had enough accommodation to look after this project.
It was as if Jehovah was dropping this option in our laps with all the criteria that we needed to do this project.
With the primary location selected, production design helps take a concept and make it a reality.
Our goal as production design is to immerse the audience in the story. If they have that sense, now they're paying attention to what's being said on screen, what they can learn, what they can benefit from it. It's one thing to design something, but then to execute that design is another thing. Even like with the throne room, this actually is too much work. We have to simplify it. Do we need to show 3 walls? Can we just get away with building 2 walls and have the same effect, the same production quality? Usually we design a set, we build a set, we film the set, and then we tear the set down. But this project's unique in that we're not doing that. These buildings, these structures that we're gonna be filming are gonna last for years. And so they have to be built that way. So how do we combine modern day building standards to make it last, but still make it look like an old ancient building that was built 2,000 years ago?
We were looking for a certain type of finish, concrete finish. Through a website, we found there was a company over in Perth that was able to achieve this. And after calling them, find out they're brothers. And those brothers have been able to come over and help us with their expertise to get the right type of finish.
The support from all those under the Australasia branch territory has been faith strengthening.
So one of the biggest needs we probably have at the moment would be auditioning.
We absolutely need more volunteers for acting. It's a unique and new form of sacred service. It's something that probably most never thought they would ever do or be asked to do, but there is definitely a need.
The more that can make themselves available through this auditioning process allows us to have the right people in the roles.
One fundamental principle that underlies kind of any good acting is empathy. It's something that we all learn as Christians. It's not about showing the behavior in in big ways. It's about understanding who the character is, and then it kind of exudes naturally.
Jehovah's organization will always train us, and Jehovah's Spirit will make us ready for the task that's ahead of us.
It's simple training, but it's definitely designed to help somebody get comfortable in front of a camera, performing in front of many people, and being able to relax, being able to be themselves.
To see our brothers and sisters offering themselves, putting themselves out in this way is wonderful.
When this project was first discussed, it kind of felt like so far into the future and almost an impossibility. It was so big in scope, but now it's actually happening. And you see Jehovah's blessing on the planning, on the construction, on the people.
Will there be challenges? Oh yeah, guaranteed. But if Jehovah wants something done, that's what happens.
We have things at the right time, and that's what we've done. We've advanced now to where we're able to do it in such a wonderful way for the whole world.
We are working with the best words that have ever been spoken on this planet. Words that have power and meaning. This is such a huge endeavor, and yet Jehovah has shown us his direction all along.
It needs to be done. With this project being blessed by Jehovah, that's what's going to happen. The genuine good news according to Jesus. That's what we're going to have.
It's clear that Jehovah is blessing this tremendous undertaking. The good news according to Jesus will help all of us to teach the truth about Jesus, and it will help us to deepen our own appreciation for his loving sacrifice in behalf of all mankind. Jesus said, as recorded at John 14:13 and 14, "Whatever you ask in my name, I will do this, so that the Father may be glorified in connection with the Son. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it." Thus, our sincere prayer is that this multi-year project will be a grand success and will result in the salvation of many more true disciples to the praise of Jehovah's great name. Thank you all for your continued prayers and support. Thank you for encouraging yet others to support this project with their prayers, talents, time, and assets. Thank you to our dear brothers and sisters in Australasia as well for your willing spirit. All of us eagerly await what the future holds for this good work ahead of us. The prologue to the book Come Be My Follower states this: Jehovah sent his only begotten Son to the earth to give his life as a ransom. In addition to dying for us, that Son showed us how to live. With each step he took, he kept his integrity and brought joy to his Father's heart. Jesus also showed us how to be like his Father. The ways and the will of the Father found perfect expression in the words and deeds of the Son. If we want to draw closer to Jehovah and know him fully, we must continue to learn more about his Son. May this new video series help us to grow in love for the Son and our loving Father, Jehovah. Help us to grow.
Well, there we go. We've seen the video there. Quite a long one. Sorry about that. But you know, showing this new series that they're putting out, and you know, it was basically just a video boasting about how good they are at doing the animation. And you know, don't get me wrong, credit where it's due. When it comes to the you know, the work that they put into these video presentations, they they've come on a long way since I was a witness. And you know, they do put a lot of effort into it, and they do produce some really good stuff. But the fact that they're boasting about it in this way before they've even made it is quite, it's it's quite egotistical. And you know, I can just imagine that behind the scenes in the meetings after the annual meeting, that you know that the elders are giving to the Jehovah's Witnesses, that they're just going to be using this to drum up more donations from from the
I
witnesses.
agree. That's exactly what Aaron Bolt said in the chat. And don't forget to donate. That's it. Just it strengthens their belief, in the church. The church is showing, or the belief is showing that it has ambition, is going upwards. So that's a place to put your money. Of course, you don't want to throw your money at something that's going nowhere.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to the beginning of this video when they were talking about, releasing it and the amount of effort that they're going to put into, because this is the first time that they're ever going to be showing Jesus on screen, because they never did that in any of the old dramas and things like that, because they didn't want to be, because of the reverence that they give towards Jesus. I found that quite an astonishing statement, because I remember some of the old dramas, and they did depict Jesus many times in those dramas. And,
I had no idea about that. That is astonishing that Jesus wasn't something that they depicted in these things.
Well, that's what they're saying now, but I remember
because of reverence, as you said.
Yeah, but I remember them they did have Jesus as a character in a few of them, so they're just clearly just pulling that straight out of their ass and going, look how great this is, what we're doing now, because we've never done it before, and all the witnesses are all sat there going, oh, I think I remember when you did do that, though. Oh, it just must be my memory's wrong. Obviously, if a governing body member's saying this, it can't possibly be
the blinders on.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all just exaggeration, and they're trying to hype it up, because they're going to say that it's to give glory to Jehovah, but entailed in that is the fact that they need to keep up membership, and they need to draw people in, and they need to keep the brothers and sisters encouraged so they can keep membership and encouraged to go out and do the work and all of that stuff to raise the numbers, of course.
I agree with that, but why are they going to show Jesus now? What was the thing that made them decide, okay, well, apparently this isn't as important as we were making it to be, so now we're going to show him? Is it this big thing, or is it really just something they're trying to pass off on the side?
Well, I think beforehand, people were nervous. They tried to make the case that it was too much pressure for somebody to want to play Jesus. Like, who would want to be in that person's shoes? To have that greater responsibility on their shoulders and possibly bring dishonor to the king, And but now they said the brothers met about it, and they talked about it, and they've recruited, and they decided to move forward with that whole project, to have somebody play Jesus and step up to the plate and take it to the next level. And so and that goes in line with the whole video anyways. They're trying to tell us all the details that they put into making these videos, making these presentations, and it was a painstaking process, and it wasn't easy. It was by the help of so many different resources around the world, and they pulled it together. They pulled it off, thanks to Jehovah. And so can't wait to see what we've got for you.
Yeah, well, the thing is they've sold into this whole evangelistic television thing now, haven't they? So, they're now they're not just because what Jehovah's Witnesses always were a publishing company.
Mm-hmm.
That published in leaflets and books and things like that, and put that publication out, and then made money off of it through donations. That's entirely what they've been this whole time. But now books are taking and leaflets and material like publishing is taking a back seat in our society. So they've had to start selling into this new television era, this new production era that we're in. And
they're so behind the times. That's the one thing that I always notice is that Jehovah's Witnesses are some of the most conservative people in the world. They are just so scared to run ahead of Jehovah, so to speak. They don't want to be on the cutting edge of doing anything. I remember even when social media was first starting coming out, Jehovah's Witnesses were like, we don't have anything to do with that. That's social media stuff is just out. That's not what we're about. We don't care about that. Let the world deal with that. Like they think that they're going to just not adapt to change and somehow be successful in the world. Like it doesn't work that way. You know, if you want to be successful in the world, you have to think ahead and be a trendsetter and be ahead of the trends, you know, and because in the end, they're going to be involved in it anyways, you know, they ended up being all on the internet anyways.
Yeah. And now they're running Facebook groups and Twitter pages and all sorts. And it's a massive change from when we were witnesses. And I think what this video shows that this new production that they're doing, just shows that they're having to keep up with those new trends. And the trend with television and social media and, things like this is that you always have to be doing something better and bigger and more powerful to keep people interested. And
they never learn, it's like when they, the whole success with the religion from the beginning was the fact that they took advantage of the printing press. They jumped on it, before a lot of other groups like Amish and other Mennonites and other people that were around at the time weren't really engaged in. But because Jehovah's Witnesses are really a very evangelical type of religion, they're out there ministering, they're out there. The whole purpose is to preach the gospel to the world. So they understood it at one time that we have to get on with the printing press. We got to get on with this publication theory that we print off books and magazines, and they got so creative. We got tracts now. We've got, encyclopedias, so to speak. We've got all this stuff that's kind of ahead of the game, and it kind of helped them launch. But then they got to a point where, technology changed so rapidly, it became, they kind of wanted to just slow down. Like, we're preaching about being no part of the world. We don't want to be running ahead of Jehovah and getting on board with Satan's world of technology,
Yeah.
And it backfired because Mormonism, which came out, which, launched around the same time, just smoked them, through the 20th century. They just pulled millions and millions of more followers. But that's what it's all about. This video is just them trying to play catch up and, brag about their new productions,
And that's why they needed to make it appear like they've never done this before. Like it's not something they've already done. So they can go, look at what we're doing, look at as they mentioned many times in the video, look at the support that Jehovah is giving us. Look at the blessing that he's bestowing upon us here to be able to do this. And
it seems like Satan's been more powerful in that regard because look at all the other big religions that has been on TV and movies and internet and God knows what else. Satan's been more effective at his campaign than Jehovah has. Why is Jehovah so weak that they're just now coming up with all this stuff? This stuff is old hat for most other religions.
It's funny, but it does seem like their JWs are a little bit more selective. I mean, would you say they are? Like, instead of welcoming all people, even as they are very strict about cutting you out, are they very kind of selective about who they bring in? they kind of stick to a script whenever they're talking to you, and all these things of that nature, or am I completely off base on that?
Well, to be a Jehovah's Witness is a thing. So when you're witnessing as a witness, when you're out on the carts or you're out door to door knocking or however it is that they're doing it, you are sort of marking people. So you're watching for people who are who are willing to ask questions but not too deeply. That are willing to take an answer and then just accept the answer. They're looking for followers, not leaders. You've got to be able to, weakness is another thing. So as we've mentioned in streams before, is witnesses have a tendency to stalk certain types of people. So they'll stalk obituary pages to find people who've recently lost someone. Or I was recently talking to my real mother, who was telling me that that she got back into Jehovah's Witnesses for a short time, because when she had a miscarriage and she was in hospital, the witnesses were stalking the wards looking for people who just had miscarriages to preach to them, to give them this message. They're looking for that weakness, that follower sort of trait where you're just going to take an answer because it feels good, because it's emotionally empowering for you. You're just going to accept the answer.
Jehovah's Witnesses aren't alone in that one. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, so it's of course it's something that all religions do, and it is religion's biggest selling point. But people need to be aware of it. That's the danger of religion, is they're going to catch you when you're down. They're going to, and then pick you up and go, oh, look at what God's doing for you. Look how great this is. He must love you so much, and and then they'll start throwing in one piece of doctrine, one piece at a time, very slowly, and eventually, bring you around to their way of thinking. They're not doing it to help you; they're doing it to convert you. Make
Absolutely.
you a clone of themselves.
And of course, it's not all targeted. The targeting definitely seems to be coming from the upper echelon, where they're really gaining from it. The people that are actually trying to bring people in are caring about their eternal souls for the most part, I'd imagine.
Yeah, exactly, and it's that'll drag you into religion, but with Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll do it piece by piece, but eventually there'll come a time when you go to get baptized, and then you'll get baptized, and then comes the nasty parts of religion. Then comes the the non-loving parts, where you've got to start cutting off your family because they haven't become a clone with you. They haven't put on the new personality, so obviously they must be bad association. So
and
now
I've
you're going to have
seen
to push them away.
I've seen brothers and sisters that cried when they brought people into the truth, so to speak. They would cry in joy and happiness, and then later find out that, or understand that the person they helped bring into the fold got disfellowship, and then they would cry about that. They were like, oh, I feel like I've had a death, and I've lost a good friend, like it's like death to me. Same with their family. It's like, I lost my brother today. I lost my sister today. I lost my son. Like these people would really get emotionally messed up behind this stuff. And so I think what happens is it's sincere for a lot of people to bring people into the religion by any means necessary. They're seriously care about the people they're talking to. And I do think that because they actually believe, that's why they're in it. You have to believe this stuff to really stay in it, because it's not easy. But, I think though at a higher level that they can't possibly care about, because they don't know everybody that's involved. They just see it as a big number, of people. And we've got to keep getting these numbers bigger. We've got to keep these people in so we grow numbers, and let's encourage them to stay in the Jehovah's Witness organization, don't get disfellowship, don't get kicked out, bro. You know,
do
so
they not have jobs and stuff? Like, can they not? I mean, I've worked union jobs and I've worked non-union jobs, and I can see just indoctrination into the corporate atmosphere and the way that you guys talk about it, especially with these videos you're showing me. I mean, in a lot of ways, of course, the production is way better, but in a lot of ways, the direction the videos are pushing are the same. You know, you're here to represent us and to look like us and to be like us. Don't misrepresent us, or you're out.
You're out. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
It's multifaceted. It's just like any other human endeavor, any other human project. You know, it's got multifacets and different aspects to it. You know, it's as cold as Jehovah's Witnesses seem. Like the worship services are very flat and bland, and the language is very bland, and everything seems to be so heartless and soulless and very monotone. But in fact, there's also the aspect of emotion that goes into this. Like, they do that out of a deep-seated emotional drive to live forever on earth, basically.
Yeah. And that's what religion is. Religion comes down to two things. The big part of it is emotion. And then the doctrine is, the emotional logic. So it's using the emotions to create a new type of logic that you're able to replace the critical thinking and logic that you already have through doctrine.
And it's like Scott was saying earlier, they will catch you when you're down, but it is about emotion. They'll also catch you when you're up. And as I was saying, it's not always intentional. Sometimes it's with good intentions, but people that, have problems with being up, with ups and downs, that's something that's really easy to take advantage of in religion, and be confused for a relationship with an almighty one, and a inner struggle with oneself and one's soul. Whenever you should really be talking to a doctor.
Yeah. And then they'll twist all that up so that that's one of the worst situations you could be in, is where you've got some form of bipolar or something, and you are up and you're down all the time, because they're going to tell you that doesn't exist as bipolar like it. You shouldn't go and get therapy and things for that, because all that is.
Well, if you even know it
exists,
because you're telling me, I mean, if you're indoctrinated in this and you're raised in it and you don't know it exists, all you know is that, you're having this personal inner struggle, and the only thing you could attribute it to, in my opinion, whenever you're that indoctrinated, is to some sort of spiritual battle.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
I just
I'll say that. And people get taken advantage of, and I don't, like I said, I don't believe it's always intentional.
Yeah. And then the only answer they'll have to that is to have the elders come round and give you some scriptures about how Jehovah will only give you the temptations that you're able to endure, and he'll always provide a way out. So you need to pray and wait for that answer to come along. And then they'll do the thing where, I think it was in the part 2, where there was in a talk, and I think it was Mark Sanderson, and he was going, you need it, and he was doing this with his ears, and he was going, you need to tune your ears into all the events that are happening, and look for that answer. It's there somewhere. Jehovah always provides you the answer to get out of your problems.
Don't rely on your own understanding.
Yeah.
Don't appeal to the carnal mind. But like today, I had a conversation with a guy who was a witness, who was trying to tell me that statement. He was like, he's making all these arguments for Jehovah, why Jehovah's real and this and that. And then I said, well, certain things you said aren't logical, and I pointed them out, the little problems with his argument. And then he said, well, your problem is you're trying to lean upon your own understanding. You're trying to use logic to understand godly things.
I'm sorry.
So I was actually pointed out, I'm saying, well, you're actually self-refuting yourself because you're arguing for God using logic. And now you're telling me to throw logic out. Well, if we throw logic out, then how are you going to argue for God? What are we going to go by? Feelings or
Faith.
What? Yeah.
Faith. That's what it's all about, right? It's all about faith.
He already said faith is not what it's about. It's about reasoning from the scriptures. It's not about, because faith can lead you to the devil wants you to use faith because
okay.
The devil uses faith to get you to believe in false religion. But Jehovah's Witnesses,
that's what happened to me. I'll say that much. Whenever my answer, whenever the Protestants gave me faith is the answer to all of my questions, it definitely led me astray. So JWs have a little bit of smarter approach to it, apparently.
That's the last resort. I mean, and then they'll say you just have to trust in Jehovah with all your heart. Well, that's faith. You know, faith is trusting things that you have no evidence for. You know, and you're telling me that I should just forget about evidence, forget about logic, forget about that. It's misleading you. So just trust Jehovah with all your heart. Well, that's faith. That's what you're appealing to, you know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, and even the Bible gives the description of faith. You know, is the evidence of things unseen.
Yeah. Hebrews 11:1. Didn't they pound that into our head?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, there is no faith. Faith is the evidence. How does that work?
Well, I mean, you don't have to search for anything. Just believe what they tell you. And, I mean, I think that it goes a lot of people, even people that aren't religious, just appeal to whatever the easiest authority is. And it's a hard balance in my mind. Like, how much responsibility do you have to get out and find these authorities? But whenever it comes to something that is as destructive as a cult, like we're talking about, that's a whole different story. You know, I definitely understand that needs to be a high priority to get out of something of that nature.
Yeah, you know, and Jehovah's Witnesses is definitely a cult. You know, and very dangerous, quite a dangerous one at that. So, you know, I do actually plan on doing a video explaining why Jehovah's Witnesses is an occult soon. So I'll definitely get round to doing that because I've mentioned it a few times and I think I need to clarify on why.
It's funny that people, because, you know, I'm coming into this, basically this show is my biggest introduction into Jehovah's Witness, and it's so clear to me that, you know, it seems cut and dry, but I think they did such a good job at making themselves seem to be mainstream in a lot of ways. Because, I mean, in some ways, they especially within, I would say, Christianity as a whole, they may not be as mainstream, but to the secular world, they seem a little bit more mainstream, and that's probably how they stay away from that cult status in the eyes of so many people. But as you guys describe it, I'm just like, yeah, well,
they
clearly a cult.
They do. They don't have a problem with old Earth. You know, they don't have problems with dinosaurs existing before man came on the Earth. So they sort of, and then they use a lot of astronomy to back up their arguments for Jehovah, like the ordered universe. You know, they're always revisiting that. You know, God is a God of order, not disorder. You know, and they point to the fine tuning and this and that. So they try to be science-y with their message sometimes. And I think that goes over well with a lot of people. That's how they get a lot of people. I think that's how they got me when I was a young guy. You know, they kind of appealed to that part of it that I was interested in.
Yeah. You know, they've got many ways to get you, but a lot of the time it is, as we mentioned, it is just emotional. They'll catch you when you're down, they'll catch you when you're up, they'll catch you in whatever. If you're willing to accept an answer without evidence, then they'll get you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's their biggest thing. And I think that also explains us what we're seeing here with what they're doing with, you know, all of this, you know, high-level production and animation and things like that. You know, they're trying to create an entire network of material so that witnesses don't need to be watching TV, don't need to be going on YouTube and things like that. They have everything that they need, and it's all spiritually upbuilding to the witnesses. So everything they need to be watching and everything they need to be doing is all on this one network.
Yeah. And that's the point about the videos, about these videos we're watching, and the children videos, the cartoons and things of that nature. It's supposed to give an alternative for the kids from the world, but that's spiritual minded, you know.
Yeah. You know, any way to indoctrinate you. And, you know, I'm going to be doing another Caleb and Sophia this Friday, because you know, although I do like watching the Caleb and Sophias because it, you know, it's quite a good cartoon. You know, give it that. It's pretty decent animation. It's just the material in it is absolutely fucking crap. It's such
that's the dangerous
bullshit
about. I mean, primarily correct.
Yeah, definitely. I think we also need to talk about a little bit about the Jesus teaching, because obviously this new video series is going to be about Jesus. I think you had some points you wanted to make, Scott, on, you know, the Jesus teaching that Jehovah's Witnesses have with it.
Oh yeah. Like, yeah, if they're going to be playing, you know, the story, I'm just wondering what part of the stories are they going to go with, because, you know, like, who put the robe on Jesus, right? Like, Matthew, Mark, and John say that after, I think, Pilate had Jesus scourged and turned over to his soldiers to be crucified, the soldiers placed a scarlet of purple robe on Jesus and the crown of thorns, right?
Yeah.
But then Luke is a contradiction to that. The robe was placed on Jesus much earlier by Herod and his soldiers. And Luke doesn't even mention crowns of thorns, right? So whose version, and there's so many examples like that, right, that we can talk about, but like, how do they pick and choose which story they're going to go with? That would be kind of interesting to me.
Last week I went fishing and I caught myself a 42-incher. That's what that sounds like to me. Like some people's embellishments on top of other people's embellishments, you know. Nobody was really telling exactly the same story. It was all just a acclamation of a little story that they like to tell. Pretty much a comic.
That's fine. You know, I've heard, you know, I used to ask the brothers about that when I was first studying about these sort of contradictions that I'd noticed in the stories, and they'd say, "Oh, that's just one person's perspective." You know, this kind of shows the ring of truth in the Bible, actually, that these people are all talking about the same thing, but little minor details are different. Like, okay, fine, but again, which version are we going to go with when you reenact this stuff? Like, I'm just curious.
No, this is God's word, right? This is God's word written through man. Why would there be inaccuracies? I don't understand that.
Not at all. I think one of the arguments they said is like, if even in police investigations, like if police interview like 4 or 5 different people about the same event, the police expect there to be discrepancies in the story. If there isn't discrepancies in the story, they kind of know that there's a lie going on. There's a collusion.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that we should continue to use the standard of the law and use the beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that that's always used whenever it comes to religion.
I see what you did there. Exactly. Let's be consistent, shall we?
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I get it. That's right. You got a good point.
Right. So, was there any other points we wanted to cover on that, on what we watched there?
Not that I can think of.
Because we've also got the examining the daily scriptures to read out to read and discuss as well. And I've done a little bit of preliminary reading, and it seems to be talking about the ministry work, which we were discussing before. So I think that follows on quite nicely. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes now, so if we want to go to a short intermission, 5 minutes or so, while we set up for that, because I need to send you the link for that thing, and then we'll come back on and we'll get into the second part of this show.
Sounds good to me.
Alright, so everyone in the chat, we will be back in 5 minutes. I'll put some music on for you to listen to while we share some links out for the second part of the show and get things set up. Thank you very much for sticking with us, and we'll see you in a little bit.
If it's Jehovah's will.
Intermission. Good.
Your skin now won't pull you down to the mire, but my river's gonna cleanse your sin now, safe from the righteous fire. Come, brothers and sisters, we'll give you everything you need. Come, brothers and sisters, we're scattering the Savior's seed. Free faith up by the force of my hand, you're bringing me a soul to save. Cleanse the filter from my great divine land, hellfire upon their grave. Come, brothers and sisters, we'll give you everything you need. Come, brothers and sisters, we're scattering the Savior's seed. Whoa. Step off the guilty path and come into this world of mine. The earth is collapsing down. Step off the guilty path and come into this world of mine. The earth is collapsing down. Can I get an amen? An amen now, brothers and sisters. Amen. Can I get an amen? An amen now, scatter that seed. Amen. past rusted turnstiles, we persevere. The wheels of conflict still move and turn. The day the world died, nothing was learned. And the future's a tunnel stretching endlessly into nothing, stumble in the black. And the light at the end is but a treachery. It will blind you and force you back. The day the world died, we kindle doom. We burned the outside, took to the gloom. But history's lessons are snubbed and spurned. The day the world died, nothing was learned. And the future's a tunnel stretching endlessly into nothing, stumble in the black. And the light at the end is but a treachery. It will blind you and force you back. Once more we fight, from peace we turn. The day the world died, nothing was learned. Just make sure to keep it all still straight so you can tell me all about it. 'Cause I'll be on my way back home to you. Take the time to be loved. Just wear your scars and don't speak. 'Cause I know you don't have the words, so I'll go slow and let it all work in. Don't you give in, don't you give up. There's more to tomorrow than the sun, and I know it seems long ago, but please hold